What up? What up? What up? How y'all doing? I'm doing great as usual. Now, this morning we've had some breaking news in the boxing world. And if you are like myself, you are finally relieved to see the biggest fight to be signed. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury put pen to paper finally, according to an article I'm going to read in a little bit on ESPN by Mark Kriegel. Eddie Hearn said it was signed on Saturday. So Friday, when we saw Tyson Fury at that MTK event, all pissed off and complaining, maybe that got it over the line. Maybe it sped up the process a little bit. So that's the great news. Now the sport of boxing can kind of move on. The only thing we're waiting on now is a date and the venue, and the date is the most important part because we want other big fights to be made, but until the date is announced for Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, it's going to be tough for other big fights. Well, they could negotiate, but it would be tough for them to set a date on the fights that they're negotiating because they wouldn't want to go up against Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. It would just be not a good move. Uh, I believe this fight will take place June 15th. I think I think that's what they're shooting for. Don't quote me on that. Uh, I just heard Tyson Fury say that date when he was uh, running off at the mouth, we should say, in that Friday interview at that MTK Global event. But the most important part is done. The terms are agreed. It's a two-fight deal. The money's been agreed. The only thing that's left to be hashed out is the date and the venue. But pen is to paper. Uh, I believe that on a provisional deal, what does he call it here? What does he call it here? Provision of services agreement. So I believe that this has to be their next fight uh, to take place. So that's a great news for the sport of boxing. We are going to see the undisputed heavyweight champion this year. I believe this will be the first time it's ever happened in a four belt era. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. So yeah, the fight is signed. It was announced. Uh, where I heard it from was Mark Kriegel, ESPN, and this is what he said at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This article came out. Uh, and it states after months of arduous negotiations between competing promoters and rival champions, the contract for a two-fight deal between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua to unify the heavyweight titles has finally been signed. Thank God. We'd like to get a site deal confirmed in the next month, said Eddie Hearn, manager director of Matchroom Sport, Joshua's promoter. The hard part is always getting everybody The hard part is always getting everybody to put pen to paper, but this was a major effort from all parties to get this over the line. You had rival promoters, rival networks, and rival fighters. See, that's the thing with this fight and the negotiations for this fight. You got Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, who dislike each other very much. The two biggest promoters in the UK, and they've never even seen each other face to face or sat down, had a word to say. Nothing. You know how unbelievable that is? That is insane. So these two hate each other. Then you got Sky Sports and you got BT. Those are the two big networks in the UK. Big rivals. You know, I'm curious to see what they're going to do network wise here. Is it going to be just split promotions everywhere? I mean, yeah, all networks show it. I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm sure when they do the big announcement on camera, we'll get those details. So yeah, the reason why this fight really took that long is there's a lot of egos involved. Uh, everybody involved with this fight are rivals. They're not the biggest fans of each other, and it's really who's got the biggest dick contest at the end of the day. So back in June, when Tyson Fury and AJ agreed on the fight, they agreed to one and one thing only: 50-50 split, and then the winner gets 60-40 in the rematch. So all these other YouTube channels out there who's saying, well, they agreed on it back in June. Why haven't they signed yet? Well, they didn't agree to anything back in June except the price. You know how much more goes into a contract than just what you're going to get financially? I mean, some people out there are ridiculous. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Uh, so as we go on in the article, not to mention rival egos, like I was just stating, always a factor in boxing. The final signature came Saturday in a provision of services agreement with signees believed to include Fury and Joshua, Joshua's promoter, Matchroom Boxing, Fury's American promoter, Top Rank, Fury's English promoter, Queensberry, and Fury's management company, Dubai-based MTK. With the terms of the deal now agreed, principals can solicit offers from prospective sites. I actually feel Eddie Hearn here. This is Eddie Hearn here. Well, I'm going to comment on that. I already commented that the egos with this organizing this fight was probably ridiculous, considering two of the parties never even had a conversation. Uh, so, with the terms of the deal now agreed, principals can principals can solicit offers from prospective sites. Now, I would like to say Fury is probably believable 10% of the time. The other 90%, he's got his promoter hat on. So we've heard Tyson Fury say he will never fight in the UK again. I hope that's not the case for all the UK fans. Uh, I'm an American, obviously you can tell by my accent, but this fight belongs in the UK. So I'm hoping Tyson Fury is talking rubbish. I'm hoping that they're trying to hold out hope for 90,000 in Wembley. It would be right in the summertime. It would be perfect time. So I'm hoping that's the case. There's rumors out there from not the brightest people in the world that says Fury cannot fight in the UK again because if he applies for a license, the 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 British Boxing Control are going to open up an investigation about some boar meat. As far as I know, that was 5 years old, and so yeah, I don't understand that. But Fury has stated that he will not fight in the UK anymore. Las Vegas is his new home. So if he's really putting his foot down on that, then I believe this fight lands in either Vegas or the Middle East. I hope it is in the Middle East. If it's not in the UK, I hope it's in Vegas. It would jumpstart Vegas, get the cash flowing, get visitors in, and maybe it'll be a good jumping point to jumpstart the economy over in Vegas. But let's continue. This is Eddie Hearn speaking. I actually feel we've done the hard part, Hearn said. Speaking for myself, Anthony, and his team at 258 Management, I know how hard we've worked. I know how hard we've worked hard these last couple of months, and I just feel that the fight is so big, it's not a difficult sell. We've already had approaches from 8 or 9 sites. Offers have come from multiple countries in the Middle East, from Asia, Eastern Europe, and America. Wow. So right there, you heard it. 8 or 9 offers for different sites. UK or Vegas, Eddie Hearn, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Bob Arum. Those are the only two places it should be. I know for crazy amounts of money, Middle East will probably get the fight. I wouldn't be going to the fight anyway, so I guess it really doesn't matter to me. But I'm just hoping that the Brits can travel because they deserve this fight. It's two heavyweight Brits fighting for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. I would be hard pressed to believe that there'd be no Brits in the audience. It would just be weird. But I guess in times like this with the pandemic, hopefully everything will start to open up by the summer and we'll get back to some normalcy. Uh, let's continue. The smart money, however, continues to be on the Middle East, where Hearn secured a site fee in excess of $40 million to promote Joshua's 2019 rematch with Andy Ruiz in Saudi Arabia. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. 40 million. The need for a huge site fee becomes particularly acute with seating restrictions and businesses still reeling from COVID, as Middle Eastern countries are seeking less in attendance than favorable publicity. It goes on to state, this is the biggest fight in boxing and one of the biggest sporting events in the world, Hearn said. So keep it in the UK, Hearn. Holy fuck. They could still make a pretty penny in the UK. It will be a major, major win for a country that wants to showcase itself. Well, how about showcasing your own country? Fucking hell. As ESPN previously reported, the contract calls for a 50-50 split in the first fight and 60-40 in the rematch, with the winner taking the higher share. That small part right there. That is what was decided on back in June. All right, for all you channels out there that are in La La Land, that was the only thing that was discussed back in June. So stop saying, well, the contract was done in June. They said, why isn't it signed? You know, Wilder's the one holding this up. The heavyweight division is waiting on Wilder. No one's fucking waiting on Wilder. All right, can we get that out the way? I want Wilder to come back and fight with Andy Ruiz. Stop worrying about Fury and AJ. All right, win a couple fights, come back, and try to get the winner of AJ and Fury. Enough with this court talking and straight up lies. Like, those channels literally wake up in the morning, they watch their Godfather, see what bullshit narrative he says, and then the rest of the day they just recycle it, the same bullshit. And if they run out of shit to recycle, if they run out of bullshit to spew, they just talk Wilder and Fury and yell at the screen. That's all they do. Hope that a couple haters come in and yell at them. It's literally all they do. Just today there was a stream going on saying that this fight cannot happen because Wilder's has Fury in court. Meanwhile, the fight was signed over the weekend, and this guy's doing a show today saying the fight's not happening because Wilder has Fury in court. You can't make this stuff up. The stupidity. It's out of control. Out of control. And you guys know the channels I'm talking about. Crybabies, fangirls, cheerleaders. And you guys act like we don't want to see Wilder fight. Wilder's one of the most exciting heavyweights out there. We want to see him fight. We just don't want to hear him cry. We don't want to hear you guys cry. We don't want to listen to all the bullshit you spew when it's not true. I can understand if you spew some shit that's true, whether I like it or not. At least it's true. But just to spew bullshit and it's a lie, I can't deal with that. I cannot deal with that. All right, let's continue. The plan is for both fights to take place in 2021. the first in June or July. The rematch ideally taking place in November or December. But news of the deal comes just days after Fury expresses frustration with negotiations that began back in January, telling IFL TV that he had ceased training for Joshua and was drinking up to 12 pints a day. Well, that's funny because I did a video on this. And I did a video after I saw an interview with George Lockhart, Tyson Fury's chef, nutritionist, whatever. You can go to my page and check that out. But George Lockhart has been with Tyson Fury for 5 to 6 weeks. He is on his way home. But as Tyson Fury was saying, he's been drinking 12 pints a day. His nutritionist was over here. An American was over here to try to shed some pounds off Fury. So maybe he was drinking 12 pints a day 2 months ago. But his nutritionist ain't going to let him sit there and drink 12 pints a day and waste everybody's time. So that's Fury being a self-promoter. That's Fury winding people up. And that's Fury double bluffing. You never really know with Tyson. Hearn said it could be mind games. He could be having a bad day. He could be a little pissed off, or he could be having a joke. He was having a bad day, but trying to be a jokester at the same time, because he did look like he was having a bad day in that interview. One of the fascinations about this fight will be the build-up, because there are two totally different characters, two totally different personalities, Hearn said. The mind games will be on another level for this fight. Tyson is very good at that. Anthony is excited by that. He's so pumped, so focused. He hasn't stopped training since the Kubrat Pulev fight in December. He's like a caged lion. The build-up is going to be epic. So, I think this is another article. Yeah, this is another article that came out a half an hour after that. And it's just pretty much talking about the backstories. But yeah, that was the first article that dropped today. The fight is definitely signed. These two cannot fight anybody else in the meantime. So that is great. So I just want to jump on with you guys and tell you what I've heard. I'm sure most of you have already seen it. But if you haven't, you can always come to Morehouse and hear it here. So I appreciate y'all. I hope everybody out there is being safe. I hope everybody out there is nice and healthy. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace. Moore's House.